And we are recording. Chair Hyland, shall I introduce the meeting or would you like to?
Yes, go right ahead. Thank you.
This is the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting of May 11. We are beginning at 5:31. I will read remote access to information and participation. In accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order N3320, declaring a state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, and Mayor London and Breed's proclamation declaring a local emergency issued on February 25, 2020, including the guidance for gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their board and committee meetings to convene remotely via Microsoft Teams and will allow remote public comment via teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comments by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force agendas and their associated documents are available at sfbos.org/sunshine. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Do you want to read meeting decorum, Chair Hyland?
You may read. Go ahead.
All right. Meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of the meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening and/or menacing behavior may be asked to leave. Item number 1, sir.
Yes, please.
Item number 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. Roll call. Member Padmanabhan?
Here.
Member Padmanabhan here. Member Yankee?
Present.
Member Yankee present. Chair Hyland?
Here.
Chair Hyland present. We have a quorum. There are agenda changes. There's just one. Item number 5, file number 20103. Complaint filed by Carl Kramer against the Department of the Environment for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and/or complete manner. I received an email from Mr. Kramer this morning saying that he was withdrawing his matter. He's the petitioner.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 2.
Any other agenda changes, members? Anybody? No. Okay, item 2, please.
Item 2, adoption of the minutes for the March 23, 2021 Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. Does anyone have any issues with the minutes that they would like me to correct or change? I'm hearing nothing.
Yes, please, from the public.
Hold on 1 second. Thank you. Members of the public can talk during the public comment section, so this is for the committee members to discuss right now. Cheryl, looking at item number 6, Chair requested items 6, 7, and 8 be called and heard at the same time. If you look, since we heard those all together, under item 7, you put see item 6, file number 200877 for action. Do you mean 20086?
I didn't do these minutes, so I'm sure that that was the intention.
Right.
Or the intention. So I will correct that.
Okay. Okay. So I think because they were called together. So did Victor do these minutes? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think he did. I think that was part of when I had my, well, no, he did do them because I did have my shot about that time. So
okay.
20086. I will make that notation.
Yeah, I think it should read see item 6, 20086 for the action. I think all the actions were notated on that file, yes. I believe. That's the only minor.
They are. All right, I will make that correction.
Okay. Members, any other corrections or thoughts? No? Okay. So do I hear a motion to accept with those amendments? I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Jaya, you're set. Member Padmanabhan, you're second.
That's right.
Okay.
All right. Now we can hear public comment on the minutes. When you're ready, Ms. Leger.
Yep, just a moment. Do we have a speaker?
I
Yes,
believe Mr. Warfield wanted to comment. Mr. Warfield, are you there?
I am.
All right. Would you like to?
Go ahead, sir.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. I'm glad to see that the association has made it into the minutes on each item where I'm identified. One of the differences with these sort of meetings as opposed to real world meetings is that nobody is easily able to make contact with somebody else. And that's why I have lately included that we can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com and by mail at P.O. Box 170544. I also say that I'm Executive Director of Library Users Association, and just as you've read the Mayor London Breed, you don't say Mayor City of San Francisco, you don't say Supervisors San Francisco when it's an actual supervisor. I would like Executive Director of Library Users Association to be included with those minutes just as I have been saying it. And I think you shouldn't strip people of their associations and their relationship to whatever group or organization they are part of. The minutes have a number of improvements that I think could be made. Item 2, where I've commented on the age of the minutes, there was, which was 2 years, there was a good response from the chair. I believe it was that the minutes are usually approved at the next meeting or at 6 months are approved by the full Sunshine Task Force. I think that would be helpful. I appreciate also the inclusion of the times of the recordings so that one might find on recordings. On item 3, I asked what the purpose of the meeting is. I didn't question the purpose of the meeting as though there's something wrong with them. I just asked what the purpose was, and the chair again gave a helpful reply, which I think should be included, including to review the relevant records and so on and so forth. With respect to our complaint on item 5, Library
30 seconds.
Library Users Association complaint, Anonymous said that there might be some useful information on a recording of what was, if something was recorded, if the meeting was recorded, that would give useful information as to what the status was of the person wishing to make a comment. I have 2:58 and I keep getting shortchanged on these things. Thank you very much.
Cheryl, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. I think Mr. Warfield may have disconnected, but
Am I
Mr.
not
Warfield?
audible?
You are,
No.
okay.
Yeah,
We lost the last 10 seconds of what you were saying. Something.
Well, may I say them then for 10 seconds?
Sure, please go ahead.
Anonymous commented on item 5, our complaint, that there might be useful information to be found on a recording of the meeting with respect to what the status was of the potential speaker.
Thank you. All right.
Are you taking other comment?
Yes, please. When Ms. Leger is ready.
You ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is Anonymous. I wanted to agree with the comment regarding timestamps. So thank you very much for adding that to the minutes. I hope that that occurs in all the minutes and all the committees and the full task force. The one thing, it's not something you can fix here, but one thing I'd ask you to do going forward, many of your members have stated this at the full task force, in the agenda is to put hyperlinks to the supporting documents. I think it would be actually really helpful to put in the minutes as well, because right now, if you look at the output, these minutes, there's no way to actually find what were the records, what was the request, etc. So if you could add to the minutes themselves a hyperlink to the supporting material for every hearing, that would be very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Anonymous. Any other members of the public? Public comment on the minutes? Hearing none. Let's close public comment. Cheryl, and take a vote on this, please.
Chair Hyland?
Yes. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. What?
Okay. Yeah, I know that the city's having technical issues today, so I've noticed, you know, the audio comes in and comes out, so I'll keep checking to see if you're there. But if we can take a roll call on the minutes.
Yes, yes. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. The motion to accept the March 25th minutes with amended changes passes.
All right.
Item number 3, Chair Hyland.
Yes, you know, I keep blanking in and out, so just carry on, and I'll catch up. It seems like I'm having issues. It keeps pausing me. So yes, item 3. Yeah.
And Matthew and I were just Yankee and I were just speaking about the Microsoft problems, and we think it was within Microsoft altogether because his office experience.
Okay. Yes, let's do public comment.
Okay. Item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Yes, okay.
We have a speaker?
Yeah.
Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com and by mail at P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. I say these things every time because I think they're important. I think it's important for people to know what the identity is of a person, what the relationship is, if they're troubling to say something about a connection. And because of the nature of the meetings, I think it's important to enable people, if they want to make it possible for whoever might be listening to contact the person. Appreciated what you said. I disagreed with what you said. Any of those things which you could do at a real in-person meeting and which you cannot do in these meetings. There's a whole range of things that can't be done in remote meetings. For example, how many people are in the room? I presume you may know, but those of us on the telephone do not know. There's no way to know if there's nobody from the public or everybody from the public, one person, 100 people, 12 people, no way to know, unlike in a real meeting room. I would like to say that I think very often the Sunshine Task Force could be more transparent, more visible with respect to how it reaches decisions and what decisions it reaches. I'm hearing some noises there. What I think would be useful and fair would be, for example, when somebody says something about making a change to the minutes or requesting a change to the minutes, I think it's reasonable not to just simply ignore them and vote for the minutes as they are or as only members have requested changes, but to respond and say, we're not going to change this because this, that, or the other thing. I think at a recent meeting, the chair commented on a change that Anonymous wanted and specifically said why that change didn't seem like a good idea to him. And I think that's at least a fair approach. I also think, as I've said before, that the task force desperately needs to post as well as perhaps have a meeting about all the changes that the mayor and the governor's proclamations have caused to the Sunshine Ordinance laws and expectations for the public so people can know what to expect and also when it's claimed to be made. Thank you very much. And I'd appreciate if you would tell me when the time starts because I keep feeling shortchanged here.
Well, I say go ahead, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having trouble with audio, but she did say start and she did say 30 seconds. So hopefully we can muddle through today, but Microsoft Teams is not what it normally is. So apologies in advance.
Did you hear everything I said or was it?
Yes, we heard.
We did.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Public comment?
Yes, Anonymous, please. Anonymous.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes,
Anonymous? Are you ready? Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much. I try to use this time to inform the task force about various sunshine goings on across the city that aren't before you today. So all good news since your last meeting. I told you at the last task force meeting that the mayor was considering signing an agreement to produce metadata. Today, I can tell you the mayor's office has signed that agreement, sent it to the task force and myself. It's actually why their complaint is no longer on today's agenda, so I can speak about it here today. We actually renewed this request for citywide metadata a few weeks ago. Every response we have gotten, except one that I can't discuss here because it's on the agenda, but every response that we have gotten from agencies has either produced the metadata that you have deemed disclosable or has said, and I gave them the option to train on the Department of Technology's new metadata tool to use it, take what time they need to, and then get back to me. But no one so far has refused production of what you have now repeatedly determined public. We also got a signed agreement by the Department of Police Accountability to produce what you did not find a violation on, but they agreed.
30 seconds.
Sure, they agreed to produce all the video and other records missing from police misconduct records as well. And I'll be entering these agreements into your public communication file, so we have a permanent record. They are to benefit everyone. The agreements are to produce this information to everyone, not just me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who'd like to make public comment? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Cheryl, if you could read the next item, please.
Item number 4, file number 20099, complaint filed by Amanda Ashton against San Francisco Airport for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely, in a timely and or complete manner.
Okay. Do we have the petitioner online by any chance? Ms. Ashton? So I blipped out there for a second. I didn't hear anything. Do we have the petitioner or the respondent with us in this meeting?
Chair Hyland, just for the record, I did not receive.
I'm not hearing anything. Ms. Ledger, do you know if they indicated whether they're going to be present?
Can you hear me, Chair Hyland? Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, I did not receive a request for continuance or a notice saying that they would not be able to attend either from the petitioner or the respondent.
Okay. And it seems like neither is online today. Members, I think we can look at this and determine whether, we have jurisdiction and whether we have everything lined up to be able to send it to the main task force. Any other members like to comment on that based on what you've read? Member Yankee?
Yeah, I was just going to say, do our bylaws say that the petitioner has to show up for this, or the complainant? I mean, have we continued the path we have known here? Or?
They've changed so many times that I'm actually trying to scratch my head to see. I think
Chair Hyland, it would be my suggestion that we file the matter and reach out to the petitioner or the complainant to find out if they're still want to go forward with this. Us not hearing from them, our standard is to file or close the matter until we hear from them and they ask us to proceed.
Right, and actually, Victor, since we have you on the line, just refresh us. I think we ended up requiring both parties to be there for the very first time it's heard. Am I correct in that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and this would be that time, correct?
Correct.
All right. So I guess it begs the question. You sent the notice that we're having this meeting last week, but you haven't heard anything from either party saying, "Okay, got it. We'll be there." Nothing to that nature, right?
No, I have not heard anything from either party.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of concerns me as chair here that this is almost 10 months ago. And do we have any correspondence from either party? Like any of the correspondence you've had, have you gotten any responses from them saying if they're even still interested in pursuing this?
Well, a couple of months ago, I heard from the petitioner. I mean, I think everything that I've gotten would be in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't.
Yeah, I'm looking at the correspondence back and forth, but what I'm asking is, what's the latest that you have that we don't see in the packet, which might indicate whether they're still pursuing this?
I thought I saw an exchange between Ms. Ashton and Mr. Yackel. I did send Mr. Yackel, who's the respondent, the notice of the hearing and the agenda packet. They both were sent that on Friday. I did not get notification that either party couldn't appear, nor did I get notification that a representative that they might want to send to the hearing would appear. So.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's all one way, Cheryl. I'm not hearing that they're responding, and that's what concerns me. Well,
when I send out a packet, I don't typically get a response.
No, that's fair. But I guess what I'm talking about is pre that. Do we send out something saying, your hearing is coming up? We're going to send out materials. Are you still?
Yeah, that's the notice to appear, and I usually do that at least 2 weeks in advance. And in fact, for this meeting, I did that in the middle of April.
Okay.
So they were notified. They received what's called a notice of appearance, and that's saying that at this date and this time, this committee will be meeting, and here are the complaints that will be adjudicated at that time.
But that doesn't require a response from saying, "Oh, got it. Okay, thanks." You don't expect to return.
It does, in that the last sentence of that notice, there is a date and time by which they must provide their records if they want something submitted and included in the agenda packet, and it's very clear what it is.
Okay, but if they don't want anything included,
Then they don't send me anything.
yeah.
Not everybody does. Every time you send out a notice of appearance, some people think that their excuse me, that their cases they have everything they want to submit.
All right. So members, what's your pleasure? Should we file this pending, confirmation that the petition wants to move forward? Do we want to, that's kind of where I'm leaning, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree. This is Jaya Padmanabhan.
Can you speak up, Jaya?
Oh, this is Jaya, Member Padmanabhan. And I would agree that since neither the petitioner or the respondent is here, and we don't know whether they want to continue on with this case, that we hold it. I don't know what the next step is, but we hold it till we hear back.
And this is Member Yankee. I was just going to quickly read it. I found the portion in the complaint procedures just so it's in the record and anyone on the call can hear it. And it says, if the complainant fails to appear at an SOTF or committee hearing regarding their complaint without prior communication, the matter may be filed and dismissed without prejudice. Complaints dismissed without prejudice are considered closed and no further actions are to be taken. The complainant shall be notified of the action and may request that their complaint be reopened in writing if requested within 60 days. And then in a separate section, it talks about after an initial in-person appearance, the complainant may authorize the SOTF to proceed with the hearing in absentia on the complaint without the complainant's presence at the future hearing. So I think that kind of goes to what we're recollecting, that they need to come at least the first one. So with that, I would move to close the file without prejudice.
Do I have a second?
Jaya, you have to speak.
I second that.
All right. We have a motion to close without prejudice. Public comment on the motion?
I do have public comment. Thank you for calling it.
Ms. Leger?
Mr. Warfield, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com and by mail at P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117. The rules with respect to the appearance of a complainant, I'm glad that the chair said what I think is quite true. The rules have changed so many times. My reading of the actual ordinance says that the respondent has to be present, but it does not say that the complainant has to be present. And I think that in general, that's a problem and a burden for the complainant. The complainant already has had to suffer whatever he or she thought, plus do all the work of preparing a complaint. And so it seems to me that that is something that needs to be reviewed in terms of changing back and forth and up and down. And it also raises a question in my mind as to what does a anonymous complainant do with respect to keeping anonymity if they are required in the real world when COVID goes away, if it ever does, if they don't want to be seen, and even now, if they don't want to be heard. If somebody wants to be anonymous, they have a right to be, and they have a right to bring a complaint as an anonymous person. You have some other kind of guidelines for anonymity and, for example, don't include anything. We're not going to redact anything on our part from documents that you might submit and so on and so forth. And I think those are reasonable. But requiring the complainant to be present, I think, is not in accordance with the law. and also causes difficulties, as I said, in certain circumstances. So that's something that I think needs to be reviewed on a larger scale, but also in this case. One of the issues that I think is a problem is that when I have gotten
30 seconds.
When I have gotten the notices, there has, to my knowledge, never been discussion about whether that's convenient or possible or even doable. And I think I know that might add to the workload, but I think in some respects that's important. Also, the amount of time that given the advance notice that's given can sometimes be problematic. People may not be aware of things coming up when
Time is up, sir.
Short notice. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment on the motion?
Yes, anonymous, please.
You ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to point out two things that may be helpful based on the discussion that we've just had. One, it is possible to maintain an anonymous complaint. It is a tremendous amount of work, though. You got to get anonymous email addresses. I use actually different voice changer settings every time I come to one of your meetings. I asked for an accommodation from Ms. Leger to use the phone explicitly for the reasons that Mr. Warfield just said. So it's a lot of work, but you can do it. But as it regards to this complaint, the one thing I would suggest is in your notices to appear, make it just, I guess, state very clear that if you, the complainant, does not appear, we will be shutting down, closing the case without prejudice, and just put it in bold so everyone knows and they don't kind of assume, oh, you know what, I did everything in my written briefs and you guys will handle it. I know it's in the complaint procedure and you can go dig it up, but I think that would be very nice, just a big bold thing to complainants in the notice to appear that says, if you don't appear, your case will be closed without prejudice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, public comments closed. Cheryl, please take a roll.
Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. The motion to close the file without prejudice passes.
Next item when you're ready.
Okay. Item number 6, file number 20055, complaint filed by Liza Morosky against the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and/or complete manner.
Are any parties present with us on the phone?
Good evening. This is Liza. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. My name is Liza.
Hold on one second. And then are the respondents here as well? Anybody from the Airport Commission?
No, Department of Public Health.
This is from, thank you.
It's not the airport, Chris. It's Department of Public Health.
Apologies. DPH? The wrong item. Anyone from DPH here? All right. Let's go ahead and hear from the plaintiff. Go ahead.
Hang on a second.
All right. Cheryl, when you're ready.
Complainant, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you. As I stated, my name is Liza Morosky. I am the co-chair of the Tenderloin People's Congress and chair of the Behavioral Health Services Client Council and a community mental health advocate. Thank you for allowing me to present my case for the denial of the Freedom of Information Act regarding the case management ratio to client-centered care within the services and facilities operated by Conard Mental Health. This request was first made in 2019 with the CEO of Conard, Richard Mr. Heasley. The request was denied by Mr. Heasley without reason. I then requested the FOIA from the Department of Public Health in 2019 and in 2020. Lastly, I requested the same FOIA information in January of 2021 from the new CEO, Ann Quaintance, and again, the FOIA was denied. After numerous requests from myself and the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, I have still not received the requested FOIA information on Conard and all other nonprofits that I requested. This request was originally made on the basis that Conard Mental Health is a mental health provider for those in low income or SROs and supportive housing. This includes on-site case management. As you can see in the evidence provided in Exhibit A, and I hope you reviewed, and Exhibit B, it is clear that their cultural competency and therapeutic alliances are lacking, if not completely absent. The level of proper training in these case managements and the turnaround is deadly. For example, my current building, we are on our 29th case manager. Their clinical mental health supervisor and staff have accused me and slandered my reputation of saying that I threatened to kill someone while simultaneously attempting suicide and holding the building hostage. The San Francisco police report states that I was not on the premises. Due to the fact that this hearing is specifically for the FOIA from Conard, I withheld submitting evidence of 10 plus SROs that have been reviewed by the Mental Health Commission, formerly known as the Mental Health Board, as well as over 25 written statements from residents describing the lack of help, levels of harassment, and harm imposed by the residents by Conard Case Management and Conard House Management, putting seniors, those with disabilities, as well as those suffering with severe mental health challenges and substance abuse in danger, as well as other residents who are trying to engage in their wellness and rebuilding self-agency, simply setting people up and individuals to fail. As you know, our Department of Behavioral Health Services and DPH are understaffed. As of 11/20, according to Marlo Simmons, we have 113 total BHS vacancies. I request this information be granted so we can move forward into resolving and repairing our mental health system by starting with the gaps who are currently funded and are doing more harm than good. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is anybody else here to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Hearing none. Is the respondent here? Anyone from DPH or Conard? Cheryl, note for the record that they were not present, please.
I am noting.
Okay. Members, the item is before you for discussion.
Chair Hyland, I just
Yes.
wanted to point out one thing that we should consider is if this is not against the department and it's against a nonprofit agency, it may not be under our jurisdiction. Was the request made to the nonprofit agency? If so, that would be under 12L, and we would not be able to hear that complaint until the department dealt with it. If the request was to the department, then it would be under your jurisdiction.
Yeah, I was looking at the paperwork here. In her opening statement, she said that she made subsequent requests to the DPH, and she finally got to them. But I was going to ask some questions and presume that Conard is a contractor to DPH, and then potentially go that route. But any other thoughts, members, on that?
This is member Yankee. I was looking at, I was trying to find the original one as well. I'm finding on page, well, it says P249 at the bottom. This looks to be the original, I'm guessing. It's an email dated Monday, December 9th, 2019, and it looks like it went to someone named Francis at connor.org. So it looks like it was sent, at least initially, to someone at I'm assuming this is a nonprofit of some sort, rather than someone at DPH. But I can't seem to find a specific request to DPH. I know it looks like somewhere in the pack, and I can't find it right now. But I know Cheryl seemed to.
I don't think you have the correct, you guys. I sent one to Connor, and then I've been working with Veronica in the Department of Public Health for over 2 years, requesting these, rewriting them, make sure they're okay, doing it again, and I still have failed to get any response.
Okay, Ms. Murawski.
Yes.
We'll ask you directly to speak, so don't jump in if you don't mind. But since you're talking, can you point out in our packet maybe a memo where you talk to Veronica? Do you have a page reference for that?
I did not, because when I submitted this claim, it was Connor, and then throughout the year, I have submitted one for Baker for all of the nonprofits to make sure that we're in state compliance with case management ratio to client care. And I've received one from like Health Rate 360 and some other ones, but I have sent the whole list to the Department of Public DPH, because it is under Behavioral Health Services and DPH, and they're both funding nonprofits that are establishments that have mental health care inside. So this is why it went to the Department of Public Health, and that's why it's not. And I don't know why Veronica has sent me several emails, but because I thought this was Connard specific, I sent you one. But I also have an email that I could definitely, if I wanted to postpone this or ask for a continuance, I can forward Cheryl Ledger that information, and it will show a request for all of the nonprofits within the DPH umbrella and behavioral health services.
Yeah, at the top of page 255, members, I see where Cheryl, I think.
It's also page 257. Veronica has responded. I am, thanks for your patience, Veronica, December 2019. So, and assume Veronica is part of the Department of Public Health.
Veronica Vian is the custodian of record for the Department of Public Health. She usually appears at these hearings.
Okay. Okay, and on 258, I do see an email dated January 13th, 2020 to Ms. Vian from Ms. Murawski, listing that. Okay, so I think based on that, we probably can proceed, members. A quick question for you, Ms. Murawski. Typically, we're in the business of helping people procure public records, right? So is what you're asking for an actual document, do you think? Or because I'm a bit worried with your language about ratios. You know, ratios, there indeed might be ratios out there, but it might not be in a document form. So we can't compel an agency to create a document to respond to your request. However, if there are, ratio reports that you know of, or something along those lines, we can certainly work with that. Could you speak to that?
Can you hear me? I don't want.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you now.
Excuse me. Thank you. To address your question, the question comes from the origin is that we have a lot of money going through our mental health system, and we, by a state and by law, since I'm a certified drug and alcohol counselor, right? We have to have a certain level of case management ratio to clients, right? So it's kind of like school, like you in nursery school, you have to have one-on-one and so on.
I'm going to interrupt you there. I understand that, but what I'm asking is, do you know of any reports or actual documents that you've seen in the past that you'd like to see, between 2015 2019 that show these ratios? That's what we're trying to get to. We can help you with that.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to get the state, they should be qualified to state level. So I would like to see if they're actually meeting the levels. So they should be telling me like in my building, there's 56 units. They should have 3 case management. They don't. So that's not in compliance with the state levels for the level they're being funded for. Am I being clear? So we need to make sure that the people that are being in these places, residential units, everything like that they're being served with the number of case managers that we're funding them for with the care that is needed. And those numbers are not being, they're not compliant with the state level. So yes, we need to see the ratios, and they should be documenting. They should have a database that documents that.
So
otherwise, we don't have any clue of how people are moving through our mental health system.
Okay, members, perhaps I'm not. I think this is important that we.
So if you're going to have a treatment center with 100 people,
establish that there is actually a document that they do have, and without Ms. Vian being here, that's kind of hard to determine. Anyone else like to chime in? I'm having some sound.
I'm sorry. It would seem kind of strange that I would have correspondence with a custodian of records thanking me for my patients, rewording it. I've written it. I've had it approved by the task force that what I was asking for was worded properly and that it was within the requirements of being asked. And it requires all of them, and it's been approved. And I think to wait for 2 years to ask for 6 of these is ridiculous. I don't think, I want to know that as a case manager. We're seeing people die on the street because of the lack of case management ratio. And I want to know if what I'm seeing is true to fact. And I think that's public record. And I don't understand why it's being denied, or why it would take so long, or why someone would agree to send it to me and then still not send it to me.
Okay, thank you. Jaya, you had a comment?
Yeah, Ms. Murawski, have you received anything from, I believe there was one email that said, gave you some numbers, right? Do you think that was a record from the database, or was? Well, yeah.
I have no,
Did you
I don't
receive
know.
anything?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
The answer I received was a really broad basis, and that wasn't what I asked. I asked per each level that I asked for. Each level of care has a different level of case management. So there is an importance difference in ratios. So if maybe to put it in simple terms, kind of like if you have something, you go to a surgeon, right? If you have something else, you go to a dentist. So if you're going to put people in intensive case management, you have to make sure that they have the ratio to meet the needs of that client. And we're not meeting those needs. As I pointed out in my statement, we're 113, which comes to 17.38% lower in our behavioral health. That's per the director of behavioral health, Marlo Simmons, not the new director coming in. So we're moving into a whole different care of mental health, and a lot of people suffering with mental health. and just allowing them to get paid to be helped by anybody, as I showed you in the evidence, how could I possibly be accused of threatening to kill somebody, commit suicide, and hold a building hostage?
May I interrupt you?
Yes.
We're just trying to establish jurisdiction, and we're trying to establish whether these records would exist in some form. That's what Chair Hyland was trying to get.
And that's why I came to you to find it, because if they don't, then we need to start making them, because then that's showing that our mental health is not being tracked. Mental health services are not being tracked appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
I must say, I wish the respondents were here because we could ask Ms. Vian directly, do you have records? Do you have a database that can put out a report? Is this something you keep track of? And hold on, Ms. Borowski. I'm talking to the members here, and I'm a little bit peeved that there's nobody here from DPH. And Cheryl, you said that normally she is the one that's here at DPH.
Yeah, she is the custodian of record. That is who I always send my DPH.
Yeah, so I see emails from you to her. I don't see emails back from her to you.
Would you like to read? I have her last.
Ms. Borowski, hold on. I'll let you know when we're ready. Yeah, I'm talking to Ms. Leger right now. Cheryl, do you have any direct response from Ms. Vian, speaking to these records?
I can't recall any off the top of my head. I didn't look at the documentation carefully when I put together the agenda, but she has made appearances on behalf of public health many times. So I don't really know why she wouldn't appear here. She certainly was sent a notice of appearance and the packet. Okay.
Ms. Borowski, back to you. Can you quote, and I don't know if you have the packet in front of you. If you look at it online, there's page numbers at the bottom, P276, etc., where Ms. Vian responds to either you or Ms. Leger and references a document, a report, or something that contains the ratios that you're after. Can you point that out to us? Are you able to do that?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I don't know what that particular document is, but I have a document dated that I can forward immediately right now to Cheryl if needed, dated 3/31/21 from Veronica. Hi again, Liza. Thank you so much for connecting with me on the phone. Per our conversation, I'll compile your multiple FOIA requests, identify total of 5 different requests, and clarify the language on your request. Can you please confirm and let me know, if you would like to make any edits before I put the new changes into the new request for our system? And again, and no response.
Okay, that sounds encouraging. So she reached out to you, and then you responded back to her saying, "Yes, please go ahead with it." And now and since then, no response. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, and this is how it's been for the last 2 years. I met her directly at her office pre-COVID.
I'm sorry.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be filing a complaint. I didn't think it would be so difficult to obtain. And so by her email, it sounds like it is obtainable.
Members, she cut out there. I didn't catch everything she said, but from that email she read, it sounds like Ms. Vian was compiling something that was responsive to her request. Did you guys hear that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we? I don't know. Member Yankee, did you have something to say?
Yes, I was to that point also. I was going to. I think at the bottom of P257, it looks like there's a correspondence from Veronica, and she says, "As of December 2019, here is the data I have available for you." And then she seems to, give some of these caseload ratios. She says for For example, for intensive case management programs, there's a caseload ratio. It's currently fixed at 17 clients to one case manager. There are about 15 intensive case management programs, and she goes on a little bit more. And then she talks about trying to see if she can pull it back further. And so I think at this point, I'm pretty convinced that some of this data exists somewhere because, you know, at some point it looks like Veronica supplied some of it. You know, maybe not for all. I totally agree with you, Chair Highland, that it would be, you know, really nice if they had shown up here because they could answer this more directly for us. And this is kind of challenging with them not being here, but I'm inclined to think this data, at least some of it, seems to exist.
All right. Member Yankee, we didn't hear the last part of yours. You were saying that you wish they'd shown up so we could answer them directly. Was that the end of your comment?
No, I was just saying that, but I would believe that, you know, based on the testimony from the petitioner, which he wrote, the read into the record, and the communication at the bottom of 257, it does appear at least some of this data does exist in some format that could be turned over.
Okay.
Maybe not all of it, but some.
All right. Member Padmanabhan?
Well, I was looking at page 257 too, and I believe the last statement that Veronica makes, which is I am in contact with VHS to see if we can pull data back from 2015, that to me sounds categorically that the data does exist, or Veronica thinks it does exist.
Okay. All right. I'm inclined to continue this to this committee, and maybe get that updated email from Ms. Morawski and give Ms. Vien a chance to appear before us. I don't think I'm ready to send this to the full task force yet. I want to see what it is that they have and make sure we have apples to apples, and perhaps even satisfy this request, you know, before it goes to the full task force. So that's kind of where I'm leaning on this. You know, I am convinced that we have jurisdiction. I am convinced there is something there. That's kind of where I'm at. Members, what are your thoughts?
This is Member Yankee. I absolutely agree. The only addendum I would make to that is perhaps we should decide on the Conrad House part, because I believe Richard Heasley of Conrad House was included in the initial complaint, and so perhaps we can decide that that's no longer part of the jurisdiction that we have, since that's the nonprofit side. But there clearly is the DPH side that I think we should, you know, continue with this.
Okay, very good. Jaya, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I do believe that there's jurisdiction, but if we can, if we want to establish communication from DPH, I think this is a good way to go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think DPH is responsible for getting that information from Conrad rather than, you know, obviously she's not getting anywhere going to them directly. So, all right, well, let's, I'll entertain a motion to continue this, and perhaps Member Yankee, if you want to do that and get the language as you listed.
Sure, I would move to continue this to the call of the chair. I think at this point we can actually find jurisdiction. So I would find jurisdiction against the Department of Public Health. And then I would also request that our administrator confirm the attendance of Veronica or another representative from DPH at a future hearing to continue questions.
So we're continuing this to the next EOT meeting? Is that what we're doing?
I would say pending.
I think that would be fine.
Yeah, pending attendance confirmation from someone from DPH.
And I will second that.
Yes, that would be fine. First of all, let's get a second to that motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, I will second that. This is Member Padmanabhan.
Okay. And Cheryl, yes, that's the motion, and continue to the next meeting of the EOT. And let's get some public comment on that, please.
Anonymous,
Yes,
please.
please.
I believe I heard Anonymous first. Ms. Leger, when you're ready.
Wait just a second. Anonymous, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. I don't think you should vote in favor of this motion. You know that there's at least some records that exist because of those 2-sentence summaries describing the ratios, an approximate average. So they had to calculate that average from somewhere. So you do know something exists. And I don't think it's fair to the complainant who has been waiting, as they claim, 2 years for this information to have it delayed because the respondent didn't show up. I believe your rules say that you give all inferences in favor of the complainant. So if the respondent just doesn't attend, I think any reasonable statement made by the complainant should be believed, and it should be moved to the full task force. So if DPH isn't going to provide these, the complainant gets an order of determination faster rather than later from the full task force. Because it doesn't really seem, at least to me, to make sense to say that, well, they're saying they're going to give the records so you don't have the full task force hear it. According to the complainant, at least, this is a very old request. So I would urge you to move it to the full task force, which I thought is what you normally do in these situations. And if the person doesn't show up for the full task force, find them in violation, is what I would suggest. Thank you very much.
Did we have another speaker?
Yes, please.
You ready, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, or P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117. We're not a party to this, but have certainly listened, and we're certainly interested in sunshine working well for everybody, including ourselves and whoever is in the city that may not even be visible. I completely agree with Anonymous, and I would put it even more strongly, and that is when you allow somebody, a respondent, to break the law, which requires them to be present at any hearing you have, and then turn that into a delay against the complainant, I think that's just a very bad policy or action that just would encourage flouting of the law. As Anonymous says, and I've been looking for it in the ordinance, I can't find chapter and verse, but yes, you're supposed to take the side of the complainant, basically, when there is not the presence of the other side, and in general, if there's a question of who do you believe. But very much more specifically, section 67.21c, as in cat, says that a custodian, I'll read the whole thing, and especially the last sentence is important. A custodian of a public record shall assist a requester in identifying the existence, form, and nature of any records or information maintained by, available to, or in the custody of the custodian, whether or not the contents of those records are exempt from disclosure, and shall, when requested to do so, provide in writing within 7 days, basically a description. And then it goes on to the key point, which is the last sentence. A custodian of any public record, when not in possession of the record requested, shall assist a requester in directing a request to the proper office or staff person. So I take that to mean that if there were any question, and if you had any doubt that there was or wasn't a record or what was the state of it and so on, the fact is that if the custodian didn't have something, they would be obligated to say, well, we don't have anything, but here's the proper place where you might find that or where you would find that. So I think this is very bad. I think you should send it to the full task force, and the respondent can still provide whatever they have in mind and may well be motivated to do so more quickly as they should have done, presumably a long time ago, if there's validity here, if the task force is about to hear it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let me just respond as chair to both those comments, both very, very fair comments. Part of what we do at these, I guess, complaint committee, which is what this is, even though it's part of EOT, is to make sure that we have everything lined up to go to the full task force, apples to apples, oranges to oranges. I'm seeing a response from the respondent talking about ratios, but I'm still not convinced there's actually a public record document that exists. And that's what I want to get to the heart of. So what I was going to do is add an instruction to Ms. Leger, if I may, after we take a vote on this, to reach out to Ms. Vienne and say, with reference to that particular reply you sent, where are you getting that from? Where are those documents? And want to make sure that we have that all, part and parcel ready to send up to the full task force. And I think that will potentially get the petitioner her information more quickly than necessarily sending it up and then delaying until the next time we can get it onto the full task force, which may be a month or 2 months from now, based on the current caseload. So that was my intention behind that. Okay, Ms. Leger, if we can take a roll call on that, please. And just point of order, I guess public comment is closed, so we can go ahead with the vote.
Okay. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. The motion is to continue to the call of the chair to find jurisdiction against the Department of Public Health and request that the SOTF administrator confirm attendance from the Department of Public Health at the next Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's good. And then, as I stated, if you could send an email to Ms. Vienne with what I said earlier, you can get it from the transcript. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I made a note in my notes to take care of that.
Great. Thank you. All right. Next item, please.
Item number 7, file number 20014, complaint filed by Anonymous against Dennis Herrera, Elizabeth Coolbrith, Brittany Feidelberg, and the Office of the City Attorney for allegedly violating Administrative Code sections 6721B, I, K, 6725A, 6726, 6727, 29, and 29-5A by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner.
All right. Do we have both parties on the line with us?
Petitioner is present.
Thank you.
This is John Cote with the City Attorney's Office.
All right. Okay. Ms. Leger, when you're ready.
Petitioner, are you ready to speak, sir?
I am.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So this is a very old complaint about a request for, I believe it is 1 week of calendar records from City Attorney Herrera with all the metadata, every detail in it. You can see the full request on P294, page 8. I'm going to skip ahead to the allegations on page 296. So as this task force knows, it ruled in SOTF 19047 that these ICS calendars are disclosable. They must be redacted with the removal of the information security information. The Department of Technology has now deemed, I believe, 1 or 2 lines in an ICS calendar to be exempt, and everything else is not exempt. There is no other information security threat. The City Attorney's Office refuses to provide this information. They have cited the official information privilege. The official information privilege protects information acquired in confidence by a public employee that is either prohibited from disclosure by state or federal law, or a balancing test in the interest of justice. This metadata is not secret. It's not confidential. Things like, the time zone you're in or what alarm you set for a meeting, none of these things are confidential. And if they were, they can redact it. There is no harm to the interests of justice. These exemptions have nothing to do with it. So the only real thing that is relevant is information security. We can discuss that for many hours again if you'd like me to, but I think I've already shown that. You've already had many hearings about this. What makes this case interesting is there's also Prop G violation. They were not recording the location of the meetings, or at least they weren't disclosing them. You already found the city attorney's office or the city attorney personally in violation for not recording the location and a statement of issues discussed at his meetings in a prior order of determination in my favor. And the final thing at issue here is it appears that they actually either created or modified the Prop G calendars after I had requested them. So they did not provide public records in their custody at the time I had requested them. From their own screenshots, it looks like they were modifying something or maybe creating the Prop G calendar records after I requested them, even though the dates were more than 3 business days after the date of the event. So they should have already made these records. I want to know what is in the original Prop G calendar record, and if it is the case that they didn't have a Prop G calendar at the time I made this request, then they should just say so. Instead of creating something, they should say, no, we don't have responsive records as of the time you made the request. There might be some other issues, but I believe those are the most important issues. Thank you very much.
Anybody in support of the petitioner? Hearing none. Ms. Leger, when you're ready for the respondent.
Go ahead, Mr. Cote.
Thank you. Good evening, task force members. John Cote, Communications Director with the City Attorney's Office. So this allegation that we somehow improperly altered any records is not correct. And the other allegations raised by Anonymous also lack merit. I would refer you to our written response to this complaint, which was back on February 11th, 2020. It's page 384 of your packet. It goes into this issue in detail, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody in support of the respondent? Hearing none. Members, the matter is before you.
Well, I guess I'll go first. This is Member Yankee. I think this one is pretty similar to past cases that we've heard, and I think it's clear that we have jurisdiction here, and I think it's clear that these records are public, and so I don't have any further questions.
Member Padmanabhan.
I do believe we do have jurisdiction here. I'm looking at page 384, and other than a statement that says the allegation that we improperly altered any records is incorrect, I don't see any supporting rationale behind this or reasoning. Mr. Cote, would you like to comment?
So if you scroll down in the packet, you'll see there's on the very next page, point number 2, about the alleged alteration of the PDF. So it's all laid out right there. There's several other pages of the response as well.
And how would you respond to the petitioner saying that, he cited some evidence saying that, at the time of his response, there was nothing, and then something was created after the 3-day period. Do you address that in your response?
We do. I don't think he actually has any evidence of that. That's his speculation and supposition. It's not accurate.
Okay. Anonymous, back to you. Would you like to respond to that?
Sorry, you're cutting off. What did you say? You'd like to respond to what?
Would you like to respond to, you mentioned in your opening preamble about the calendar not being entered or not being created within the 3 days, but after the fact, and that's what you said they sent you.
Yeah.
Do you have something that shows that? You said you had a screenshot or something.
Yes. So instead of the ICS calendars, they decided to send me screenshots of Outlook, and that's on page P297. And that modification date stamp of that entry is after I made the request and after they received the request. That's where my involvement speculation is from. So I'm not getting that record as it existed when I requested it.
Unfortunately, you cut out. I just heard the last part of what you said. Page 297.
I'll say it again. On P297, which is page 11 of the PDF, instead of the ICS calendars, they just gave me like screenshots of Outlook for some reason, and one of those screenshots shows last modified by Feidelberg, Brittany, Cat on May 9th, 2019, and my records request was the day before. And that's also the day that they made the PDFs. So something they changed in that calendar entry on after I made the request.
Gotcha. It would be nice to get this sorted out before we send it up to full task force. So, this is fairly serious. Mr. Cote, would you like to respond to that?
Certainly. So it appears that Outlook automatically marks a file as modified whenever any kind of change is made, regardless of the nature of that change. So, for example, you could add a space. You could be capitalizing a proper noun. You could be making a change, but then changing it back. So any of those types of things would show up as a modification. So, if any calendar items were modified on May 9th, we believe that whatever edits were made were non-substantive. To the extent any edits could be deemed substantive, they were made as part of the process to create the document as legally required. So creating a calendar that is accurate and compliant with section 6729-F does not violate the Sunshine Ordinance.
But creating it late is?
We're not saying we created it late.
Okay. All right.
It existed in order to be modified, but the calendar existed in the first place. Only then can it be modified. Mr. Cote, what I'm trying to get at is, is it not possible for, a keystroke to be reversed and that modification would not show up?
I think the point is, if there is a keystroke, that shows it is modified, even if the keystroke was simply a space.
But if that keystroke
or capitalizing somebody's name.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Outlook. I know in a document it's like last opened, but last modified does seem like something was done to me.
Yeah.
Well, I obviously, I think this is fairly black and white. It should go to the full task force. Whether we want to get into the nitty gritty at this point or not, members, you can decide how much you want to help dissect this particular issue and or make a recommendation on it, or just send it as it is, part and parcel. What are your pleasure?
I think we can send it as is.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to find that there is jurisdiction and we should refer the matter to the Full Sunshine Ordinance Task Force for hearing.
Okay.
And that the records are public.
Just let's wait for the second.
I was going to second it and suggest that we do what Cyril just said, and also add that the records are public.
All right, there we go. Does the maker accept that amendment?
What's that?
Does
Do I
the,
need-
do you want to accept that? Okay.
I agree, accept it.
All right. So Cheryl, if you could read back the motion.
Moved by member Padmanabhan, second by member Yankee, to find jurisdiction, refer the matter to the task force, and that the records are public.
Very good. All right. Let's get
Take
some
a vote.
Let's get some public comment on that.
Yeah.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on the motion? Any public comment on this motion? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Let's take a vote.
Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. The motion to find jurisdiction, to refer to the task force, and that the records are public has passed.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, parties.
Thank you.
All right. Next item. Cheryl.
Item number 8, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee.
Members, any items? And Matt, are you sitting in this particular meeting, or are you now a permanent member?
I am substituting for member Frazier, who I believe had finals that he had to attend to. So I am just here as a substitute.
All right, what a nice problem to have, to be so
Yeah.
young.
I recall those days.
All right.
Anything on item 8, folks? Questions?
Nothing from this side.
Member Padmanabhan?
Same for me.
Member Yankee?
I'm all set.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Yes, please.
Likewise.
2 speakers that I heard. I believe Anonymous was first.
Please let me know when I may begin.
Are you ready, sir?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
I believe this committee discussed as a future agenda item in the past certain letters or general advice to either the mayor, because there's a ordinance section where the mayor is actually responsible for the compliance of all departments underneath her, or to department heads about various things you all have looked at multiple times now regarding, say, immediate disclosure requests, property calendars, for one example. There was the issue about what has changed according to the emergency orders, all these various things that you wanted to talk to the whole city about and maybe save a few complaints. I would urge you to agendize the draft policy recommendation or whatever it is that you're going to communicate to the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a second public commenter?
Yes.
you ready, sir?
I am.
Go ahead.
Peter Warfield here, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. The Education Outreach and Training Committee, I guess I'm glad you are meeting according to a schedule that you have posted. The last meeting was the first one in 2 years, so I'm not sure if you're planning to meet more regularly. One of the things that came up was what happens with draft minutes if they are not approved for quite a while because of a committee not meeting. And I guess I had heard that the normal procedure, I don't know if it's written down. I appreciate Chair Hyland's phrasing earlier again. They've changed so many times. The rules have changed quite a lot and frequently, and have been considered for change quite a lot. But it seems that it would be useful to arrange to nail down some possibly what I would call loose ends. Under what circumstances do you take draft minutes to the full task force, or does the body do that when presumably there's not expected to be or likely to be or isn't a meeting as scheduled according to the regular schedule? Draft minutes can be very damaging if the wrong thing about the wrong subject or the wrong person or the wrong issue is stated incorrectly. And long periods where draft minutes would be unchanged and unchangeable would, I think, be not a good thing for the public or for yourselves and your own records of what's going on. I'd also, on another matter, I would say that I think it would be very valuable for the Education Outreach and Training Committee to do what I've requested a number of times before, which is to get together
30 seconds.
To get together explanations for the public and themselves as to what to expect from the current circumstances with COVID. And also what I've said earlier today, to discuss with the public, how it's working for them, what's working, what's not, and in general see what's going on. I notice a lot of people are dropping complaints. They don't seem to be, explaining it. That's one thing I would certainly be interested in.
Time's up, sir.
And you might too. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none. Next item, please. Oh, wait. I'm seeing Member Yankee.
Yes. I just wanted to direct Mr. Warfield to, he asked a question and it could be answered by the bylaws. So if Mr. Warfield wants to go to the bylaws, Article 5, Task Force Records, Section 1, Minutes. He had asked a question that says, minutes shall be taken at all meetings of the task force and its committees and shall comply with the provisions of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force that apply to charter, boards, and commissions. In the event a committee does not meet for a period of 6 months after its last meeting, the minutes of that meeting shall be agendized at the full task force for review and approval. So that was it.
Thank you.
Can I say something or not?
No, that's just a response to public comment. Okay, Cheryl, you can call the next item, please.
Item number 9, adjournment. I have 7:01.
Who would like to move?
I'll move to adjourn.
All right. Second. All right. Thank you, everybody. Till next time.
All right, let me start the recording.